La Verge dels Consellers, the Virgin of the Councillors, was painted by Lluís Dalmau in 1445. It's an oil painting on a square board of 311 centimeters. The use of oil was a great innovation that displaced the previous use of tempera. The new pictorial mean allowed transparencies and glaze effects that with the compact color of the tempera they were impossible to achieve. Apart, Luis Dalmau, having learned this technique of the oil, having learned it from the Flemish school of Van Eyck, introduced it in Catalonia and with it introduced a new volumetric treatment of the figures while opening the space, getting closer in that way to the Renaissance perspective of the vanishing point practice in Italy since the Quattrocento, especially in the Tuscan area in Florence, his capital. In the Virgin of the Councillors, La Verge dels Consellers, we also can appreciate how the figure acquires an individual identity. And that was an advance because, let us remember, in the previous Romanesque and lineal Gothic style, the face features of the characters they were pretty the same for all the people depicted, making difference in between them with the color of the hairs, the clouds, their size, marking the status, but not much with the face features. The style that Gustav Mau imported from Flanders lived together for some decades with the so-called International Gothic style. That was a style very fruitful along the land of the Catalan-Aragonese crown during the period of its maximum expansion of the confederation at the moment of the incorporation of the Kingdom of Naples. And nowadays we can see precious examples of this international Gothic style, normally boards, when we visit many churches or in the rich collections of the MNAC, Museu Nacional d'Art de Catalunya, or, for example, the diocesan, so bishops or cathedral museums of Vic, or the one in Girona, also Tarragona. On the contrary, the Flemish painting Gothic style gets rid of the rich golden leaf backgrounds characteristic of the International Gothic, as well as from the stucco. He also gets rid of stucco reliefs and even pieces of metal that they were embedded on the boards together with the pigments, the color. The new painting, foreseeing the full Renaissance, get deeper into the space, both the one before as behind the figures represent. These figures gain in mobility within the scene, freeing themselves from the rigid compartments where they were enclosed till in the previous painting manner. A part of the inherent value of the painting as a piece of art, the Virgin of the Councillors is also priceless as a unique document of his time, especially about what is concerning the social organization and the power structures of Barcelona and the Principality in this turn in between ages, the Middle and the Modern Ages, so by mid-15th century. Catalonia was born in the early 9th century, in the shape of a handful of counties under suzerainty of the Frankish kings. In less than 2 centuries, and once this collection of counties were unified in one, the independence had been gained, not de jure, but at least de facto. So from 11th century, the county of Barcelona was commanding itself without any dependence on the King of France and began gaining more land to the south. Then, in the 12th century, when it was made a union of crowns with Aragon, Barcelona turned into the mighty commanding head of what has been known by the historians as the Catalan-Aragonese crown. The thing is that, despite having sovereigns, also they were called monarchs, kings, princes, counts, depending on the land they were referring. For example, they called themselves kings of Aragon, but counts of Barcelona. Or by the Renaissance, it was in fashion to say prince. But all these words, they mean sovereign, or the one who has the last word. The thing is that, despite having sovereigns with the title of count in Catalonia, these never got exclusive and absolute monopoly of power. So rather than being anointed by the grace of God, they were rulers by the acceptance of the rich people of the country. As it also indeed happened in other countries, in the medieval Catalonia and later until 1714, it was the balancing powers of the nobility class and the high clergy, so canons, bishops, archbishops, abbots, and priors, the ones who counterbalanced the power of the king. In Catalonia, as also happened in the Italian republics, they were also strong and participated in the organs of decision, the bourgeois, rich people from the town, that owned their own position to the successful careers as merchants, bankers, freight forwarders, and in lesser amount enriched craftsmen. This group of rich citizens in the parliament, where they had their seats and they had their say, were known as the third arm, being the other arm the nobility class and the clergy. The bourgeoisie was able to assert in the town a system of local government that likewise assured the respect and promotion of their class interests. The Count King was always in need of money for his wards, or to repair walls, or just for the luxuries in his palace, so that it was how, in change of donations from all these groups, the merchants, the clergy, he gave rights, privileges, tax exemptions to the bourgeois class, as well as to the nobles and the high clergy. So that is the story of the Carta Magna, which in Catalonia was called constitutions. The king couldn't act and decide at his whimful desire, so according to the law. The way the bourgeoisie defended tooth and nail their interests, that is to say their control on the local government, is what we can indirectly see in the representation of Verge dels Consellers. The political power in the Catalan capital, Barcelona, had two institutions: Consell de Cent, Council of the Hundred, which was the legislative chamber, and then the executive, who were 5 members, and that they had the so-called Consellenca, or head councillor. It also existed the Council of the 30, the Trentenari, in case that the Council of the 100 couldn't be summoned for logistic reasons. The way to elect the representatives of the town was not through universal suffrage, universal vote, but by the so-called insacculation system, word that comes from sacket, as some marbles corresponding to different names were extracted from the sacket, and thus mayor and different members got their positions. But the trick was that not anybody could be in the sacket, so despite an innocent man, normally a little boy, extracted the balls at random, at the end of the days it was the high class of merchants, bankers, and so on who always were ruling, cornering with the lowest positions the craftsmen who represent the majority of the population in the town. As also was the case of the Catalan government, the building of which is actually in front of the town hall, and both of these buildings can be visited for free some weekends, they had tax collection powers. But the influence of the local government of Barcelona exceeded his walls. Being the largest city in the Principality, what Barcelona wanted had to be heard, and nothing could be done against his will. So those 5 councillors represented in the oil painting had much to say. Being those 5 people represented the most important political figures in the Catalan politics of the times. These 5, together with the President of Catalonia, always a member of the church, and of course, the very same king who stood at the top of a feudal pyramid. Though, as we are seeing in the case of Catalonia, as also happened in England, it was made of cardboard and not of stone, this feudal pyramid. The very same deed of the commission by these 5 councillors of a painting dedicated to the Virgin Mary is a declaration of intentions by itself, an advert proclaiming the grandness and importance of these 5 peoples. The representation of the 5 men, probi hominis, is of a painting gender like the Rembrandt Night Watch, a way the rich people of the times had to flatten themselves, but also to show the pride of being free men and enjoying rights as citizens, something to defend tooth and nail. So we see how by mid-15th century, Lluís Dalmau, with his painting skills, rightly transmit that stratum or state, not really class, as this concept, social class, is the product of the capitalism. That still will take a few centuries to born or to appear. It is not only the size of the painting, the quality of the colors, but the looks, their gaze, serious and solemn, how the portrait ones let themselves be painted with expensive broideries and silk clothes. So the declaration of wealth by the executive of the local government is a mean or was a way to declare the same wealth and power of the town hall and by extension of the whole city of Barcelona. The appearance of the Virgin Mary reinforces the untouchability of the local power. Who would dare to criticize the members of an institution who have been anointed and have a holy conversation with the very same Mother of God? The presence of the Virgin thus legitimizes the very same existence of the local power, guardians of the rights and freedoms of the city. These rights were the arduous gain of many centuries of struggle, from the first privileges given by Louis the Pious in 1801, which were especially enlarged these rights with the reform of the local government by Jaume I by mid-13th century. The presence of Virgin Mary also has a subliminal message about the source of the local power, from where it comes. The great old painting seems to indicate that these great, powerful councillors, keepers of the rights of Barcelona, they do their job not thanks to the generosity of the highest Lord, the King, but for the grace of God, who speaks through the presence of the Virgin. The appearance also of St. Andrew, holding the X-shaped cross with which he was martyrized, refers to the election day of the councillors that took place for Andrew's Mass the 30th of November. The painting becomes then a political manifesto of asserting the local autonomy, something necessary especially when by 1412, with the arrival of a new dynasty from Castilla, more authoritarian ways by the king were trying to find way. Concerning this change of dynasty, we open a quotation. Happened that Martin the Humane died in 1410 without a legitimate heir. So the home Catalan dynasty was thus extinguished and a new king had to be found. They did it actually, this finding a new king, in a very civilized manner. Representatives of the three main kingdoms met at the town of Casp, and by voting they elected a new king between a handful of candidates. The chosen one was Ferdinand, from the Trastamara family, the grandfather of Ferdinand II, the Catholic. These authoritarian trends were especially enhanced from the reign of Alphonse the Great onwards. The kings used to be quite absent from the city, but that didn't deter them from trying to get more power, more donations from the different states, while avoiding any veto in their decisions. The pactism, so negotiation, increasing rights, donations to receive something in return, was being endangered by the new generations of kings that ended up degenerated in what we know as the absolutists, the zenith of which the most clear example was Louis XIV, the Sun King from France, the King of Versailles. From a composition point of view, the painting is built with a hidden triangle made by the kneeling councillors at the sides and rising above the rest the Virgin Mary, sitting on the throne with the child. That reinforces the stability of the scene, mixing the temporal of men with the eternal of the Virgin Mary, saints and angels represented. That again helps in the message of praising the local government, very pious men and also wealthy, as recognized by the presence of the Virgin that awards the citizens with her appearance. So it was a way to show that the Virgin Mary recognizes and is happy with the behavior of these rulers of Barcelona. This hidden triangle is even enlarged by the obliquous lines of the X crosses of Santa Eulalia and San Andreu. The way in which appear the kneeling figures shows also a narrow perspective, the vanishing point of which is the stainless face of the Virgin. We thus reckon how the Flemish Gothic style, despite lacking the geometric rigor of the Italian Renaissance, is also was essaying the representation of the space, the depth. The coloring is very eye-catching, thanks to the vividness of the white and red tunics of the councillors, and the deep sea blue of the Virgin Mary dress. Actually, in the contract in between commissioner and painting, there used to be stipulations on how much of this red, how much of this blue, how much of golden leaf should be in the painting. Actually, the marked contrast between these colors contributes to the liveliness of the scene. The event takes place in an interior, but thanks to the pointed arch windows from the rear plane, the gaze can continue leaving the room to enter into the landscape. Indeed, the use of that Gothic architecture, as I mentioned pointed arches, proves that the classical forms of the Renaissance, as pediments, round arches, columns, already used by the Quattrocento painters in La Toscana, they had not yet landed here in Catalonia. The architectural frame that we were talking about is likewise one of the hidden keys responsible for the beauty of the painting, as the whitish creamy tones, arches, pillars harmonizes with the pale skins of the councillors, Santa Eulalia, the singing angels, the Mother of God, and the infant Jesus. All in all, the painting is a choral representation, not only because the many people depicted, but because the singing of the heavenly maidens from behind, praising the Virgin. So the painter had the ability to make us believe in the likeness of such an impossible meeting in between a handful of powerful worldly men, some saints, angels, and the very same Virgin Mary and Christ child.